Sparkle is perfect for Christmas, and today I've got some very sparkly designs to share with you. 5 in fact, using some hot foil from Crafty Critter, and if you hang around, I've got a bonus for you a bit later on in the video. But don't freak out if you're not into hot foiling, stick around because these ideas can be also used with toner foils. If you've got stamps that you can use that could be adapted, also design paper. So I started by picking out all the silver sort of style hot foils from Crafty Critter, and I love that a lot of these have that sort of sparkle within them, so you can get that sparkly look without having the mess of glitter. I've also got the royal purple hot foil, as well as some of the new colors of the colored toner sheets. So did you know these toner sheets work with both normal toner foil as well as the hot foils? So I've got the beach set, and I've grabbed out the teal green color from this set, as well as a couple from the princess set, which was the light and the dusty purple. All right, so I'm going to start by doing all the hot foiling first for my cards. We're going to be making 5 cards today, and my focus today is going to be using backgrounds to create Christmas cards. So you may notice none of these backgrounds are specifically related to Christmas, but you can use them for Christmas card designs. So I've grabbed the New Year's Party hot foil, which is really, has like a fine confetti kind of glitter through it. And I'm using my Go Pressin foil here. And this is a fairly new machine to me, so I am still getting used to the sandwiches and the length of time for heating. So use whatever your machine or what works with your machine and what works with your paper. Now always make sure that you put the pretty side of the hot foil to the plate, and then I like to leave it sitting. I leave the plate to heat up on the machine first typically, and then I will wait for the machine to heat up and then let it sit for a whole minute before I run it through my die cutting machine to add the pressure. Now, that was real time rolling it through the die cutting machine. I do it very slowly, and I do wait for the foil to cool down before I remove it. But how pretty is that? That was the Spellbinder's skinny stripe background. And I want to use the leftover here. So I have got a piece of the teal green now. And like I said, this is like the toner foil cardstock. It's the colored cardstock. Typically, I've only ever seen black toner sheets before, so it's awesome being able to get them in colors and beautiful colors that I like to use too, because you know me, I like my bright colors. So this green was just perfect to add the New Year's Party hot foil to, and I did add a couple of shims. I'm using my Pink Fresh Studio solid hot foil plate, and like I say, I wait for it to cool down before I remove the protective sheet that holds over the foil. And how pretty is that? It just looks amazing with those little blue lines showing through the foil. All right, next I thought I'd try the royal purple, and I will have everything that I've used linked today as well in the description below, but there's also going to be a lot more information at my blog post, so I'd love it if you come visit me there and say good day and Merry Christmas and all of that stuff, and let me know where you're at with your Christmas cards. If you've even started, or maybe you've finished. I know people have finished them already, but this purple I thought would look lovely, and this is the Ultra New Magic Burst. And like I said, I'm still getting used to this machine, and I didn't leave the plate long enough to heat up here, so that went in the bin. You can't win them all. So next I grabbed the chevron background from Ultra New, another non-Christmassy or non-holiday background. So you can change this up and use these same designs for any time of year, but this time I have used this awesome hot foil, which is called Ice Lights. How sparkly is that? And no glitter, I promise. And I've also got the dusty purple toner sheets this time, and I thought this would look really nice with those bits of purple showing through that really sparkly glittered hot foil. So I was a bit better this time. I left the solid hot plate on a bit longer, I added 2 shims and left it for a whole minute before I ran it through my die cutting machine again. But I do have something special to share with you today. So I have a discount code to save 20% off your total shop. Use the code LIP20 and we have 2 weeks to use that discount code. Now, if you miss it, don't worry, you can still save 5% on my usual code, which is Lostinpaper05. So if you want some hot foil, some toner foil, if you need some cardstock, their 250 GSM cardstock is amazing. And that's actually the cardstock that I'm using here today. But they also have their foil art and those toner sheets, those coloured ones, as well as black ones, which work beautifully. So now I'm going to do all my die cutting, and I have the A2 layers dies from Waffle Flower Craft, and I do all my rectangle die cutting with those. And then I am cutting multiples of my images out so that I can layer them up. It just gives a little stability to the images, and I do like to pop things up off my card designs. And I have also die cut the top layer out of that Crafty Critter cardstock so that it matches the white in my foiled designs. So now I'm going to show you a little trick with the sentiment die cut that coordinates with the mini Christmas sentiment strips from Spellbinders. So you only get the one die cut in the set, and you can use it for all the different sizes of sentiment. So simply just cut it as you normally would, and then to set the other end of it and get that die cut end, simply relocate the die with the die cut in place and use some low tack tape and flip it over. And when you put the plate on top, you only really need to sit it on the end of the die cut that you need to cut. You don't need to recut the whole thing. But I'm going to show you a quicker way to do this, and no one will ever know. Well, you'll know. And I did also layer up the sentiments as well because I wanted to pop them up on the front of my card designs. But if you want to make your cards more post friendly, you can certainly either foil directly onto the card base or adhere the sentiment and the images directly to the card base. Right, so now it's up to the assembly, which is always fun. Like I said, I do want this to be popped up on the front of my card. I've got the Reindeer Leaps. This is an awesome reindeer from Penny Black. And I just do use cheaper white cardstock to layer up my images, so I'm not wasting my good cardstock. And there you go. Pair of scissors. Cut the end off. Try and keep an eye straight. Much easier than die cutting twice. But it's up to you. You've got both options. I have added these panels to my card bases. So I use a Nina card base, and it's a slightly different white. So I do make sure that I've covered all my card bases with a piece of the Crafty Critter cardstock if my design doesn't cover the whole front sheet. I did pop up the reindeer here as well as my sentiment, but like I said, you don't need to do that. I just like to mention. And for my second card, it's very similar. I actually just layered up. This is a beautiful snowflake from Ellen Hudson. It's the largest one of the set. This one actually has a coordinating hot foil plate, but I just kept this as a white snowflake. I was going to actually cut it with some coloured cardstock, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Once I saw the white on white with that skinny stripe background, I just had to leave it at that. You know, the more I try and add, the more I take away. I don't know about you. I'm definitely a less is best girl. And something like this would be really fun to create multiples of in different colours if you wanted to go down that path. So this solid piece of cardstock here, the leftover foil waste, I decided to make it into a triangle Christmas tree. So I have just eyeballed the triangle. I probably should have measured, or if you had a lovely triangle die cut, that would be even easier. But I just basically Added a piece of cardstock to the back of it to make it just that little bit more sturdy, because I'm going to pop it up as well. And eyeballed my triangle, so hopefully it's not too wonky in your eyes. It was hard to photograph these because it kept kind of looking gold, but I like the way that it picks up all the other colours, like the purples and the blues that are around it. These hot foils are such fun. I did die cut some little, I don't know, I suppose they're berries. They're from the Joyful Wreath that I'm going to use in a moment. And I just used some of that toner cardstock and die cut some and made them the baubles on the tree. I did think about putting silver, but you know, changed my mind again. For my next 2 card designs, I did do a little bit of alcohol marker colouring, and I used a reverse confetti set called Holiday Bow and kept the colours in line with what I'd already been doing. I decided that I was going to use the teal green, a purple and silver today, so I decided just to stick with those 3 colours, and then I'm not kind of trying to rethink the wheel. So I did actually colour these images really quickly, and I do have the coordinating die cuts, but I didn't want that white edge of the Nina cardstock, so I actually fussy cut them and didn't share that with you. We haven't got all day. We've got Christmas cards to make. And this is that Joyful Wreath that I was telling you about. It's a MFT set. I don't know if it's still available. I will link everything that I can find or similar, if I can find similar, in the description down below and at my blog. But I think it might have retired. They tend to retire their stamps and dies fairly quickly, as far as I can tell. But I layered that up, just used some purple cardstock. I didn't use the toner sheet cardstock because I want to save that for good. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the align tool to add the panel to the front of my card, and I was being lazy. I couldn't be bothered to get my MISTI out. So what I do is I just grab one of the bigger pieces of the align tool, put it on the edge of my card, and then put the tool that I need to use to align, and then I can put the panel in place. I have a whole video on how I use this tool, and that's just one of the things I've started doing. To adhere my wreath to the front of the card, I used some liquid glue because I figured that's going to have a nice strong hold on that foil front. And I know this is a layered die cut, but I don't know if this card's going to be hand delivered or posted. So by having all those layers, I know it's going to be a lot safer in the post if it does go that way. So these are the fussy cut images. I added a couple of the holly leaves and one of the poinsettia flowers. It's a purple one. And I wasn't happy with the colour of the teal green, so I just came in with a Copic marker and coloured over top and popped up a sentiment over the top of the wreath. How sparkly is that card? And now for my final card. I have created another A2. These are all side fold A2 cards, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I've added the Magic Burst panel to the front of that, popped up the sentiment, and I decided to add some silver gems to the center of the flower. So I did color over the green that I'd put in the middle of the flower. That was going to look weird with that behind there, and I love that about alcohol markers. They're very forgiving. I'd like to know, are you going to be doing any foiling this Christmas, either hot or toner foiling on your designs? I really like the shine that it gives to a project. If you don't like foiling, you can always do some heat embossing, stamping, or use some nice design paper. I'd love to know which one is your favourite if you have one. I do hope you enjoyed today's cards and got some ideas for stretching your backgrounds into your Christmas designs. If you liked today's video, please click on the thumbs up button, and if you haven't already, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel. I've got 2 more videos right here sharing 2 previous years from my Same But Different Christmas card series. I look forward to seeing you there.